one of the greatest experience from my character on Supergirl, like my character's journey. She came out later in life, she's 29 and just couldn't quite figure out why she wasn't like everybody else, and why, her expecting that, being with a man is like, oh, maybe that's what it's supposed to be. But then all of a sudden it was like, well, it just didn't really ever feel right, and while I am very happily married and I have 3 kids, I'm still discovering things about myself. I've found community in people that love and respect me for who I am. And again, it's like you edit the people out that maybe don't get it. They don't understand it anymore. But one of the best parts that I've had about playing my character is that I've been told, so many times by fans that they've used my character's coming out scenes as a way to communicate to those that are closest to them of their own coming out. Like when they might not have been able to find the words to be able to do it. They've literally told me, like, I sat my best friend down and we watched this together. Or my family members, I told them to watch this episode and then let's have a conversation. So have any of you come across someone that said the same thing to you?
Yeah, All About E is a film. I play E, and she is Lebanese, not out to her parents, married to a queer guy so that her parents still think she's straight, but ends up coming out. And I have had people contact me and say that, it was wonderful to watch that film and to see how it was a happy ending, even though not everyone's experiences are. But yeah, I've had people reach out and that's been really nice. But more than anything, people have reached out to kind of just say thank you for being there and for being a part of this world and coming out and being vulnerable. That has helped them come out in other ways. And that's pretty wonderful to hear things like that, because then it gives you more, I guess, gusto to want to, or more power to want to come out even more or be more vocal for people, not for myself, for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. It really forces you to question, like, why am I doing this? Because what you do will affect people. The story you tell will affect people. And I recently finished shooting a short film that I wrote. It's a Japanese-American queer story about really finding your identity and owning it. And through promoting it, I've had a few people reach out to me and say, this is such a unique story, and I'm so glad you're telling it because, I relate to this. And I've never heard of this story told before. So I'm so happy to hear that. Just to hear that it's validating to know, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm not alone in telling this story. Others can relate to it. Sometimes you do feel like you're alone. Like, oh, am I the only one that experienced this? So to hear other people say, I've been through that too, it's just like, wow, okay, great. I know why I'm doing this. So, going back to, it's just more than myself.
I really feel like I learned from Jill, who I played, and also all of the other characters in BIFL. Like, there was so much education I learned from who Michael played, also from Mandela's character, and even Taylor. Like, Taylor's anxiety, really coming to the forefront. I was like, yeah, I have experienced that before at some points in my life. And Jill's awkwardness, that's definitely a part of Anisha, but like Jill takes it to another level, and I'm like, it's real, the struggle, the awkward is real. Like, it's like, it feels relieving to be able to express it, one, see it in other characters, and then also learn about the queer community in a way I've never been a part of before. Like, so many lessons for me on just the experiences people go through internally, while also just feeling so embraced, by the community and meeting so many new awesome people. Like, I feel I've learned so much just being in the skin of these people and in this found family of BIFL.
One of the biggest, for me, rewards of being on BIFL is having the opportunity to open my eyes and realize that even within my community, there's so many nuances. There's so many identities. You think you're a marginalized group, but then there's so many more marginalized groups, to be able to like open your eyes to that was such a big game changer for me as an artist. I was like, whoa. I have even more of a responsibility to study human beings and to expand my heart even more. It's been an amazing journey, and to be here and to continue having these discussions with you all is just, yeah, it's great.
That's the power of creativity and the power of storytelling, and why it is so important to have representation on TV and film and whatnot, because it is more of a chance for people to say, oh my gosh, that's me. I'm not alone. Like, I'm not the only person who goes through this. I'm not the only person who's experienced this. And there's not enough.
So rant about the pandemic, about a year and a half long. For me personally, I was getting down, just really in dark places. And what got me through it, I have to say, was books, but was also TV, movies, and music. I mean, that was my go-to thing just to make it to the next day. And a lot of people would probably agree with me. They rely on entertainment, just to give them that joy that you mentioned, Kyler, in life. But what I think really sucked is that the pandemic put a lot of actors out of work. It put a lot of musicians out of work. No more live performances. So as actors, I would like for you to give advice to other people in the arts who have been so demoralized, how to keep going.
My advice, just reach out to your people, to the chosen family that you have built around you. Remember, you're not alone, because when things get dark for me, I just tend to go inward, and then that gets even darker and I push everyone away. And that is also not very conducive to depression at all. So I find that when I do reach out to my people and just be like, hey, or I just send them a black heart just to let them know things are not great over here. It's the people. It's my people. It's those guys that have been pulling me through and keeping me going as well. Be brave and reaching out and making new friends. And I know the brave part is hard, but it can actually lead to some really beautiful gold joy there.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so it's very brave. Because mental health, I mean, everybody's been affected in one way, shape, or form. And I think that's also a representation matters as well, because, I'm also an advocate for mental health. I'm, bipolar. And so I've been on a hell of a journey. I'm very lucky because I've had in my household, my husband and my kids. But I know for a lot of people who were isolated and alone, it is hard. You also don't want to be a burden to other people. Sometimes I feel that way. It's like, oh, someone wants to hear my story again. Like, oh, I'm so tired of talking about me and my story sometimes. But then you got to think like, okay, well, it is important, to do that, because it helps people feel a little bit more brave. And I think that reaching out is so important, and talking about mental health and getting that as well, which is a huge part of what you did with BIFL again, which is why I'm a mega fan of you all, just because that is such a huge part of it. Again, I think it's going to help a lot of people.
During COVID and quarantine, I really dove into anything that soothed me, but I also learned how much just the simplest things like being in nature. I never walked so many miles in my life than this last year. Just fresh air, sunlight, and laughter, truly laughing really soothed me and relieved my just anxieties. But I will say we can't always be in a place where we are creating, but to not have perfectionism stop us. I really dove into trying to study writing more this year, and letting whatever is on my heart at that time, or any of the artist's heart, to let that be the thing that you express, not having to get to some place to then be like, okay, then I can put something out there, or then I can create something. Maybe just what you're experiencing in that moment can somehow become a form of art for you. Or social media, I've been seeing, has been a place for people to kind of perform or act or get in touch with that thing that we love to do, whatever that is, if it's visual art, sharing that. Or I just echo what everyone has said, where it's just about putting your truth out there and creating stuff, but really being kind to ourselves as well this past year. I mean, it's been hard on everybody.
Yeah.
Totally. Being kind to yourself is that's the best mantra of the year. And I didn't just walk up to my computer and be like, I'm going to write a short story, or a short film. That came out of pain, Last year when COVID hit, I went to a really dark place, and I suffer from anxiety and panic disorder. And so, yes, I'm glad we're talking about mental health, because I feel like last year the theme was mental health for a lot of us. Being isolated and being in one place for so long, it in a sense could be like its own prison, you know, if you will, of the mind and soul, you know. So for me last year, when COVID hit, I went to a really dark place really fast, and my panic and my anxiety started to really manifest, and lots of rumination. To be candid, I had to go to a place where I had to decide to become sober. And so I started to work on my recovery and being a sober person. And through that journey, I was able to really come to this place of being kind to yourself and recognize that, like, this situation that we're all going through is a rare situation, and it's not normal, you know. So like, you can't expect yourself to function like it's a normal time right now. It's different. And so to be kind to yourself in that way, and to really take care of yourself as you would take care of your friends and family, you know, putting that self-care to yourself, I think was really important for me. And I think it was in the midst of that, allowing myself to feel the pain, allowing myself to go through the darkness, was born that creativity to then start writing for my short film. So I want to say that, because sometimes as fellow artists, we go like, oh yeah, well, you just made a short film, or you just did this, and oh, you booked that. It's like, oh girl, you don't know the struggle behind it. You know, we struggle so much, and sometimes we only see the glory or the celebration aspect of things on social media or whatever. But really, like, we're all struggling. We're all just trying to, like, be accepted, be loved, be happy in our own unique ways. So I'm glad you brought this up, Angelo. And now I'm going in a rant.
No, it's great. It's not at all. No, that's wonderful. I think that's incredibly helpful. And I really appreciate you sharing that and being candid. And it's nice to just, you know, meet like-minded people who are trying to do the same thing, which is just create change in the world, make the world a little bit brighter, however we can do it, you know. And creativity doesn't have to come from being in front of the camera or being an actor or an actress or whatever it is. It's like, it does come in so many different forms. Is there anything else? I so appreciate the time that you're spending with us and just being so open and honest with your answers. Like, this is just so wonderful. And it's really great to have this conversation. It's like fed my soul today. So my weekend's made. Thank you.
Kylie, if I may add to that, and also the previous question in advice for people, I think this year and last year has been so monumental in the fact that it has forced so much change individually. I mean, I know personally it's very much made this happen for me, to look inwards and to work so severely on myself and my innards. I am a huge advocate for mental health, and I think it's super important to talk about, because there is so much shame and so much stigma around mental health and talking about your depression, talking about the dark stuff. And I think it's so important to, I mean, we all know the balance of life. There's light and there's dark, and that also exists within us. And it has to exist within us, I think, for us to actually appreciate the light and for us to understand how dark things can really get. I mean, it's been a shit year for a lot of people, for all of us, but the beauty and the silver lining of it is the fact that we can't exist without that darkness, truthfully. And I think with it, for myself, having to sit in that and realize that my shit's not going to change. I'm going to have depression for the rest of my life, no matter how hard I work on it. I'm always going to have that dark days where it's like being stuck in mud and I just can't pull myself out of it. It's really fucking hard. But then it brightens and it gets better for however long it does, but it does. And I think making sure that you know that, and making sure that everyone knows that that is a part of you and that that is okay, and being able to talk about that is okay. That's what's so beautiful about what has happened and the silver linings of what has happened in the past year and a half. The fact that people are talking about their pronouns. Like, I've been on like a survivors of suicide. There were about 110 people. It was a workshop. And the first question they asked was, everyone just put your names on there and also your pronouns. And this is not a queer, this was survivors of suicide. talking about everyone. We just want to include you. Make sure that you put your pronouns down. I can see the world is opening up in ways that it never has before. And that is so exciting. And because we're able to tell these stories, these representational stories of people's lives and their intricacies and their uniqueness, and that is so beautiful. And I just think that, like, the more we talk about this and the more that we actually speak to each other, not just about our own superficial shit, but like, hey, Kyla, bipolar, huh? Is there anything I can do that would help you on your journey? Like actually being kind and actually wanting to help each other. I think that is so beautiful. And I really hope that from the past year of COVID that people can actually really see the silver linings of that and the beauty of that and hopefully be kind because of it. I think that's what I wanted to say. I think I just needed to get that out there.
Mandala, I love you so much.
I love you.
This is like therapy.
For sure.
This is awesome. So what do you charge by hour? I should have asked that before because I feel like we're racking up some dough right now. No, I am so appreciative of all of you just being open and honest. I love that the community is going to be able to see this and feel that they're heard and seen and at least a little bit better understood. We are incredibly happy that BIFL is in the world right now because we've gotten to know you, lovely individuals, all of you who've done such a wonderful job, all of the cast, crew, everybody, Team Jamber who's in there, just have done such a wonderful job to open more eyes and ears and hearts and souls and spirits to be able to feel like we're not alone. So my throwing it out there to any and everybody who is watching, if you don't already, please give these wonderful folks a follow on social media and follow the BIFL series on socials as well so that you can be the first to know about any season 2 updates. We are so grateful. Thank you so much for taking the time and spending your Saturday with us. It's a pretty great weekend.
Anytime.
Yeah.
So fun.
Thank you.
And all my Saturdays could be like this.
Yeah.